Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Most Important Conversations Meditations. We host these meditations Monday through Friday. The overarching theme of the meditations is liberation. And before each meditation, there's a short talk, the content of which is derived from our main program, Whole Life Architecture, which is a live interactive workshop community where participants are learning to reconnect to their essential source power and their essential identity that is common to all human beings, which is as a creator, specifically as a creator of their own life, so that they can create a life by design, by being liberated from their conditioning, instead of merely tolerating a life by default, which is what most people in our conditioned society do. They are living someone else's life. We've been speaking since the beginning of this year about creativity, and in particular, some of the different attributes that constitute creativity. We've been talking about imagination. We've been talking about visualization. And also this week, we started to talk about the importance and power of space as the requirement for all creativity to fundamentally exist. All creativity can only exist and only comes from nothing. In other words, space is absolutely essential for any creativity to occur. So yesterday we were speaking about how to create more space in your life, but also how to be at peace with space in your life. And that space is something we've all been taught is something that needs to be filled. Nature, as they say, abhors a vacuum. And we started to talk about how the experience of spaciousness in our life occurs to us as boredom. And that being able to be with boredom, to get on the other side of boredom, opens up a spaciousness for creativity to occur. But we have to be able to be long enough in the no-thingness of space for the experience of boredom, which is kind of like our brain's hangover, a hangover of not always being able to attend to something. With our 78 miles a year of social media scrolling that we do, with our multimedia environment, where we can literally fill up the space and preoccupy ourselves with anything and everything everywhere. It's like that movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And so space is the thing that we've been starting to explore, and it is the thing that is required for all creativity to fundamentally occur. This morning, what I'd like to do is deepen this conversation a little bit more about space, how you are inviting space or creating space in your life so that the creator within you, which is your natural source essence, can actually be activated again. All of our creative impulses, our creative instincts have been conditioned out of us from very long ago when we were children. And one of the things that was conditioned out of us as part of this is our ability to be with and appreciate space. To not just merely tolerate space, but to embrace it, to be with it, to see it as possibility unlocking itself. Because on the other side of boredom, on the other side of this space, is the ability for us to create anything we want for ourselves. But there's another element of what space is so important for. If you don't create space in your life to create, and all creativity is required for space, you're not going to be able to create because you can't create on top of something that's already filling the space, something that already exists. For those of you who are religious, you will know the passage in the Bible where Jesus says you don't pour new wine into old wineskins, which is to say that if you're back in his day, in Jesus's day, they used to carry wine in these wineskins, and you wouldn't put new wine in an old wineskin, in part because the old wineskin deteriorates over time, and it had a high probability of it bursting And so therefore, the potential of wasting all of your new wine as it spills out all over the place from an old wineskin. In the same way, your life, and that's the metaphor for your life, your old conditioned life, you cannot create something new in your old conditioned life if you're not willing to empty it. And this is the liberation part, the deconditioning part. It's about releasing and creating space by releasing those parts of your life that are out of alignment for you. Now, the compulsion is going to be as soon as we move something that is in our life out of our life to quickly fill it, because again, we have this reflex, a conditioned and learned reflex to need to fill the space instead of letting it linger for a bit, being with it through the reflex of boredom, the reaction of boredom, to just want to fill the space at all costs. By learning to be with space when we get on the other side of the event horizon of boredom, a new possibility emerges. And this is required to create anything new in your life. You cannot create a new life inside of an old one. Put another way, trying to create a new life inside of the conditioning of your existing life will cause the conditioning of your existing life to react so violently to anything new you try to integrate and incorporate that you will fail to do so. This is why 98% of people who engage in any personal development or self-help fail to implement new ideas in any meaningful way that move the needle for themselves. It's the reason why less than 8% of people ever keep their New Year's resolutions and less than 2% ever see any outcome as a result of them. The system of our existing conditioning will reject and fight like a virus any new thinking, any new ideas, any new behaviors that aren't congruent with your conditioning. And yet your conditioning was not, for the most part and in most people's lives, your conditioning was not what you chose to make a life out of. It was what you learned from your friends, family, and community for who you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do. Most people are living lives of other people. They're living lives and tolerating lives by default. And this is their conditioning. So there's no way to create anything new for your life inside of the conditioned structure of your pre-existing life. Your pre-existing conditioned life will fight you at all costs and will dismantle any attempt to try something new, to incorporate something new, to make a change. And the reason is our brains resist change at all costs. I mean, we resist the perceived risk of change. And all change is inherently perceived by our brains as risky. Why? Because it's unpredictable. And the unpredictable is insecure for us. And so any new behavior, any new idea, any new change you seek to bring into your life will be met with enormous resistance and has a 98+% chance of failure. To which I ask the question, why start in the first place? Would you get in a plane that had a 98% chance of crashing? And yet we do this every day with our life, where we fantasize about, I'm going to make a change in this area of my life, without creating the space, without dropping the very conditions, the very elements of your life. Those conditions and elements could be people. They could be things that you do for a career. They could be behaviors around your health. They could be where you physically, geographically live. There are things you need to handle in order to make any meaningful change in your life that is aligned with your authentic self. And that also begets the whole question of, do you even know who your authentic self is that you are aligning any change with? Most people seek change to alleviate some discomfort or effort that they're experiencing in their life. They aren't trying to change their life for greater alignment. And so even understanding your motivation for what you want to create, for what change you want to create and implement in your life. But all of it is moot. All of it is moot if we don't learn to be with space, if we don't intentionally create space in our life and learn to move through the boredom that is experienced when we do so. And so I'd like to invite everyone this morning to give deep consideration to your relationship to space. Do you create space in your day? Literally a space to do nothing, not space to just sit and scroll on the phone, not forced space like sitting on a train or something where you're still preoccupied with people watching or you've got something to distract you with. I'm talking about the actual opportunity to condition yourself, to intentionally recondition yourself to be with, embrace, and thrive in the midst of no-thingness, in the midst of space, in the midst of the unknown. Because this is the only place that creativity can emerge from. It cannot emerge from a cluttered, noisy, busy, everything, everywhere, all at once life, which is what most of us are living, which is the conditioning of our society. We're so avoidant of space that we wear it as a badge of honor when we meet someone and they say, "How's it going?" And our response is, "I'm busy," as though it's a badge of honor. Busy means we're always chronically in activity, activity for activity's sake. Not even because the activity aligns with us in most cases, but because it's just the momentum of the flow of our conditioning and we're trapped in it, no different than being trapped in the flow of a river that you can't get out of. You've got to get out of the river. You've got to get out of the conditioning. You've got to create space in order to take a breath and create anything new in your life. If you're ready to create space as your first act of creation, if you're ready to create a life by design instead of merely tolerating your life by default, I'd invite you to go to tmicglobal.com and learn more about whole life architecture. We'd love to have you join our community of other creators who are standing up for themselves to drop their conditioning and to create a life by design instead of merely tolerating their life by default, likely like they have been doing for decades. And with that, I'd like to invite Mignon to join us this morning for this morning's guided neurosculpting meditation.
Thank you, Chad. And hello, everyone. And this morning, we will explore a neural sculpting meditation, creating space for liberation. And you may hear me spell out words or dial things up or down, along with fun imagery, all by design as part of the neural sculpting meditation process. It's a process that helps calm the nervous system, prime the brain for creating supportive ideas, and allows agency in how you move through life. Regular neural sculpting practice can be incredibly supportive in reinforcing desired outcomes and creating lasting shifts. I hope it serves you in a meaningful way. So let's get started. And for the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to go on a meditation journey together. And this journey is going to be about releasing and letting go of what does not serve us, so the body no longer has to hold what doesn't work. And we'll start this journey together by bringing our awareness to the body, inviting the body to do whatever it needs to do at this very moment in order to get to a place of comfort and rest. You might like to adjust cushions or roll out wrists or ankles. Maybe allow the shoulders to drop. Because your body is nowhere else but right here. At this moment, what would you like to do to get even more comfortable? Maybe it would feel good to take a long, deep breath in and slowly exhale, letting the air flow out through your nose and mouth. Feeling your breath smooth and warm as it's released into the space around you. Your breath is breathing itself all the time, automatically. And with your awareness, you can notice that. And you can influence that as the breath flows in and out. And on your next inhale, you might notice the air expanding in your lungs and moving down into the belly, then rising back up on the exhale, releasing out of your body, clearing and softening. Your breath is doing an excellent job as it naturally and predictably flows in and out, filling you and emptying you. And with a deeper inhale and longer exhale, your body and muscles might find it easier to sink deeper into the supporting surface, relaxing even further. And with your awareness, you might want to connect even deeper, releasing any tension and allowing the body to sink even deeper onto the cushion or chair or ground. Your body is right here, breathing and settling. And your environment may also be adding to your basic comfort. In what ways do you notice the environment adding to your comfort at this moment? Maybe it's a cozy chair, a favorite blanket, or comfortable and familiar surroundings. Maybe knowing all of your needs are met at this moment is comforting. Because you are breathing and settled, your breath is invited to flow comfortably and naturally in and out. And as your body continues to slow itself down, becoming more calm and relaxed, your thoughts are free to wander and engage your creative mind. So I wonder what it might feel like to be the wind. Would you be a big gust and blistering wind? Or would you be a soft breeze? How does it feel to blow across the sky? Or it might be more interesting to imagine being the color orange. How might that vibration be? Maybe it's warming and bright. Or maybe you're a deeper orange and it's just a little more like comforting. How does it feel to be orange? This is your creative and narrative mind. Your body is always listening. And because your body is listening so well, I would remind you that you are the author of this journey, a journey to identify and release what does not serve you. So I wonder if you might bring to mind a simple STRESS, stress that your body has been carrying. This might be recent, or this might be ancient. It might come as a conversation or memory. And this particular stress that you're imagining at this particular time might have a color. Maybe it's green, or maybe it's blue. It might be striped or something else. And how would your creative mind describe the texture or temperature of this stress? Maybe it's rough or sharp. It might be cold or hot or heavy or slimy. What comes to mind for you? And all the while, your breath is breathing itself and your body is supported, and you are exploring and identifying and imagining. But if you were to reach down into the body with your mind and scan your body to find the location wherever you might believe this stress lives, where does your mind go? Are these colors and textures heavy in your belly or sharp in your back? Maybe they're cold in your hands or feet. What do you observe that is particular to you? And you might remember how well your body listens to your thoughts. So the invitation is to use your thoughts in this moment to imagine doing something different or better with what you are observing. If what you are observing is stuck and heavy or slimy, perhaps you imagine melting it, letting it slip right out of you. Or if it's too sharp, imagine filing down a sharp edge. And if it's altogether too intense, you can imagine a dial and dialing it down from 10 to 5 to 1. What does your creative mind get to do at this moment when you give it permission? As creative mind imagines, your body listens. Sometimes it's so subtle, you hardly notice it. And sometimes it listens so intently, it's obvious. And because your mind is shifting this particular stress in this particular moment, how would you like to notice your body listening? Maybe you become aware of space. Perhaps you become aware of shifting sensation. Maybe a muscle somewhere softens. What do you notice? You are bearing witness to your body's response to your mind. And if you imagined, felt, perceived a shift that supports you better, you're welcome to remember that shift by grounding into it. You are invited to place your non-dominant hand on the part of your body that is shifting. Or instead, you're invited to make a hand gesture reminiscent of this moment, so that when you make it tomorrow, you're reminded of the shift you experienced today, embodying this shift with your own hand. Or what if this shift could be a scent? What could it smell like? A scent that you could breathe in tomorrow that would bring you right back here. And you are invited to use your next few breaths to settle into this shift, inviting it to expand or continue shifting if that's comfortable. Breath is breathing itself. Body is still supported. If you could come up with one activation word that you could say to yourself tomorrow that would bring you right back to your capacity to shift, what would that word be? This might be a word that means something to you, or it might be completely nonsensical. You can imagine it being written across the sky in big, bright colors. And each and every time you use this word, or your hand gesture, or smell that scent, or go on this journey, you will strengthen that shift of what does not serve you. And all of this is already inside you, and you can invite it to integrate more and more along with your breathing, even when you move your awareness out of the inner landscape to sounds out around you in the room, to the way your clothes feel against your skin. You're invited to take a few more breaths at your own pace. And gently open your eyes when you're ready to end your release meditation. Be well.